Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. So about a week ago, I went ahead and did an unboxing of a pedal board that I found on Amazon for right around $65. I believe it was just over 70 after tax here in the great state of Washington. And honestly, it was a great find. It's a really great budget find. However, I do think there's some good things going on with this, and we're going to go ahead and talk about it today. Now, besides the price point, which is, I believe I talked about this in the last video, but my initial reason for looking at pedal boards and pedal board cases was the soft carrying bag that came with my old pedal board. The handles were ripping off of it, and so it was just a big pain to transport. Definitely not going to transport it without the case. So I initially started looking at bags. Bags are expensive. Like a bag like you'd get on your pedal train boards, those are like $80. So nothing cheap there at all. So I've been looking for a while. So it's been on kind of my targeted ads. And this is one of the things that came across. Now, this company was completely unknown to me. It's one of the probably sourced off of, Wish or Temu or something of that nature. It's a Chinese company, and there are several versions of it. There's several different brands that sell basically the same thing. But what caught my eye about it is it's a decent sized board. It's all metal construction. It actually boasts some pretty okay features on it, and the price is good. Add to that the construction of the carrying case. Now, like I said, my other carrying case, the handles were ripping off. The handles on this one, the way that they are stitched, they go all the way around. And so you're not actually going to, have that issue with this case. The nylon material that it's made out of is thicker than a lot of the cases that I've come across. I want to say it's on par with the pedal train bags. And by looks alone and design alone, it kind of looks like it is the same bag. So potentially maybe whatever company got all these, these deals together, potentially maybe found that same company and just, they're offering them cheaper. I don't know what the case is there, but I digress. So this pedal board is not much larger than my old pedal board, but I am able to actually fit a few more pedals. I do have it wired up right now in a functioning manner. On the last video, I kind of showed how I was going to have it laid out, and the spacing looked a little bit better at that point. But unfortunately, once you start getting things wired up, that doesn't seem to always work out, and in this case, it absolutely didn't. Now, I do have a couple of pedals that are wired up to my power supply that I don't have in the chain just yet, and the reason for that is I ran out of patch cables. I actually need to make some more. Right now, I'm using a mix of, I've got some Ernie Ball flat cables. Well, not flat. They're the pancake flat inputs or input jacks. And then I've got some cheap Donner cables that I bought a few years ago just to try out, which actually, I know the quality of the cable really does matter, and you do get some tone suck out of it. And absolutely, with a board this size, there is tone suck. It's going to happen. There's no way around that. But I would say, for the price of those cables, honestly, it's a stellar deal. But I digress. I got a really good deal on some Mogami wire. I have about, I can't remember if it's 10 or 20 feet of Mogami wire. I could not, for the life of me, tell you which wire it is. It is the smaller diameter. It's not something you're going to want for an instrument cable, but it does work really well for these patch cables. And in fact, I prefer it being that smaller diameter. And then I have a bunch of gold jacks, the pancake jacks. So I will be putting some of those together. I will be discussing how I make the jig for building these. I had a smaller jig. I'm going to do a bigger one, and we will do a video on that. I think you guys could get a lot out of that. Just makes life a lot easier when you're making your own cables. And honestly, if you are putting a pedal board together and you've got any soldering skills whatsoever, it is worthwhile to go ahead and just do that. Not having to loop the cables around all weird because, you've got, a super long cable and not that long of a run, or you're trying to get the most out of a shorter cable, and just, it's a pain. It's a total pain. So being able to measure it out and cut these cables to a length that's going to work the best, that's super worthwhile. So right now, my MXR Booster Mini, my Tone City Sweet Cream, and the Strymon OB1 are not actually in the chain. They are kind of for the future. So how that chain will go, well, my thinking right now is we're going to go Polytune, MXR Booster Mini, Sweet Cream into the compressor, then the SD1, and then the tilt. I kind of toyed with the idea of putting the compressor either first or last. Both have their merit. Putting a compressor after all your drives kind of gives you that kind of compression that you get with tube compression when you're overdriving a tube amp. But this one I really, really like having in front of the tilt. So I've got a couple different flavors of boost going directly into the tilt. I can hit that compressor if I'm using this booster or the Sweet Cream, and it'll just give me some different flavors. I might play around with that a little bit. I might end up with the compressor at the very front. I still would like to have a compressor after all my drives, but that might be something for the future. Maybe I'll get something a little bit different. I know I believe it's Wampler just came out with a new 76 style compressor, and it's actually it's a pretty nifty device. If I can get a hold of one, I definitely will. But that would be actually a wonderful thing to go as a compressor after all the drives because of the way it works. From there, the chain is going from the tilt to the stomp. It's hitting the front of the stomp like it would the front end of an amp. The amp model that is mostly used is it's a DC30. Then I have a loop set up in here. Now this isn't necessary. I didn't have to do it this way. I did this for future. Not that I'm going to get much bigger with this pedal board, but just to be able to move things around in the loop. I went ahead and put a loop in there. So the first thing it hits out of the loop is the afterneath, and this is it's a very, very, very ambient reverb, and it does really well. I mean, it does really well before or after the delay, but I like it kind of before. It makes those delays even more washed out, and then it can hit either the Strymon Flint, which is more often than not on a Hall. I really don't use the 70s plate much at all. It's either going to be Spring or Hall, depending on how I'm feeling. Or after the effects loop on this patch, I have two reverbs. One is a double spring tank, and one is Oh shoot, what do I have on there? Oh, it's a shimmer. Of course it's a shimmer. You gotta have a shimmer. So that is our basic setup right now. As for the functionality of the board, let's get back on track a little bit. As for the functionality of the board, like I said in the first video, I think these feet are just a little bit too tall. I might experiment with some shorter feet. That's going to put this board at a better angle, I feel. It is a little high. I didn't really notice it this last week, but I was doing an acoustic set, so there wasn't much changing. Really, at that point, the only things I was using was I had my tuner on, obviously to tune up. I had an acoustic patch on here that was doing all my EQ or any additional EQ, I should say. And then I had a slap back delay, and I was using the Flint for some very, very light reverb. And that was it. I didn't use anything else in the loop. Obviously, I'm not using the drives with the acoustic guitar. So it wasn't the best, trial run on that, but it did feel comfortable. It didn't feel like it was really too high, but at the same time, again, I'd like to get that angle just a little bit farther down. I think it will function way better like that. Now, I haven't tied all the cables up yet, and the reason for that is because I do have more cables to make, and I'm going to kind of rewire everything anyway. So what I did do, though, is I went ahead and that tray that the power supply sits on, I did go ahead and kind of stuff those, all the power cables. I bound them up and tucked them up under there. And I don't know, the bottom looks neat and tidy. I mean, unless you pulled those wires back out, you wouldn't know that I haven't actually, sorted and run them super neatly yet. So it does function the way that it's intended to. The strength of the board, it feels very strong. It feels very sturdy. It is a little bit on the heavy side. I'd have to, unload the board and kind of check between like a pedal train and this. But I do think it is just a little bit heavier. It does have a little bit more steel. It's got more bracing. It's got that tray on it. So it is going to be just a hair heavier, but it's not too bad. You've got these handles on either side. These don't have to be used as handles. You could actually use those for, cables in and out, whatever. At some point, this patch bay is going to be utilized in there, and it's going to sit up underneath, either right next to the power supply, or it might actually go kind of over here, but I do kind of like using that as a handle, so maybe not. I digress. All in all, my thoughts on this pedal board are, if you are in the market, if you do not want to spend a bunch of money on a pedal board, but you want to have something that is going to last, and you want to, get a decent padded case with it. Like I said, this thing, it's stout. It is a stout case. It's got, a decent amount of padding. Again, it feels just like the pedal train. Totally worth it. Totally worth it. I included the link in the last video. I will include it again in this video. And with that, I want to go ahead and remind you guys that if you like what we're doing here, be sure to hit that like and subscribe button. It really, really does do a lot for the channel and helping it stay, within the algorithm. And I will see you guys on the next one. Have a good day.